snuck underneath the radar. It is a game that's kind of like Dynasty Warriors in a way, is the best way to explain it. But it follows the story from when they go into Waco Mundo and all the way to the Aizen fight. So the timer will start as soon as I hit the normal. I'll give a countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. So to start off, this game has extremely long loading screens. So I'll try to explain as much as I can during loading screens, but I'll also try to explain as I'm doing the run. So to start off, this game has its own unique ability sets and all of that, which I'm going to be pretty much just using one throughout the whole game, depending on each character's unique setup. But there's going to be one thing that I'm going to constantly abuse, and that is the Ignite gauge. The Ignite gauge in this game increases your damage by pretty much 3 times its damage or whatever. And I'll be using those through boss fights and such, which also allows me to use each character's special. And each character has a very unique special, each character has very unique abilities. So for Ichigo, he does a giant Getsuga Tensho, which you'll see in the first level. So for this, pretty much this room, I'm just going to kind of build up my Ignite gauge while also trying to kill these enemies as fast as I can. So now I'll just do this side. It's gonna give me like perhaps one thing about 80% in this game is you have to start from a new file. Like you have to just delete your save and just start from a new file. So it's like recommended to just have a separate account on your PS3 for it. So that's room 1. That was kind of a slow one, mostly because the AI spawned in weird spots, but that's fine. Move forward. Another thing about this game is that dialogue, you can use the dialogue trees to kind of guess how fast you're moving in the room. And there's also stuff called random dialogue, which can actually slow you down. So in this game, for example, like let's say you do a boss fight, in certain boss fights you can't progress until they finish talking. So if you get a random dialogue tree, you can end up getting a longer one, and there's not really anything you can do about it. Just kind of random. So I'm gonna kill this with this move, which then completes my spiritual gauge. Which, if you pay attention, the spiritual gauge doesn't charge when I'm dashing unless it's in recovery, and the only way you can be in recovery is to. The only way you can get in recovery is when you've wasted your entire spiritual gauge. Sorry about that. But, okay, so now what we're going to do is, this is the boss room for the first fight, so we're just going to do this. We're hoping for no, like, barrier for any of these chaos, because they'll put a barrier up for a few seconds that just kind of waste time. There's nothing you can do while it's on. So here comes that upgraded fight. So now we're going to Ignition. We go this way. If you notice how our damage is just extremely higher. And then we can do stuff like this. Target ourselves perfectly. And get to the Tensho. And this will be the end of the first stage. Because it'll kill both of them. A lot of this game is just movement and just random RNG. With text boxes and then certain enemies just knocking you out of the right spot. Back to another loading screen. In this game, if you notice very closely that we're going to be doing this entire game as level 1 characters, mostly because leveling up is a pain in the ass and it just takes a lot of time. So when you go into your level up screen, it just kind of has to open up all the chains. Especially on the fact that at a certain point you get blocked off from your leveling until you level up another character. So it's kind of a waste to even mess around with it in 90%, especially the fact that it runs off of soul points and we don't get very many since we don't kill things. We just kind of rush to the level as fast as possible. So in 80% it's worthless. But for like other categories, it's not that bad. So this is I hate this character. I hate Uryu in this game. He is, to me, the most painful character to play as. And I'll explain why as we're going forward. So the main reason Uryu is just awful is he's based around his bow type, his whatever's a bow, spiritual bow. And it's not... precise bad. It's just the way they set this level up just doesn't really work for him. Because it's just me doing this pretty much the whole time. Pressure boost. So there's also orbs on the ground that increase your health, like here, bring back your health, bring back your spiritual gauge, and then bring back your ignition gauge. You'll see me kind of grabbing these in a technical way to make sure I get what I need at the right time. So in this next room, this is complete RNG. So if we get it, we get it. We don't, we don't. It's just unfortunate. There will be these 3 turtles. Turtles are the worst AI because you can't hurt them until they get knocked over. And the only way you can knock them over is if they jump up. So what we want is this to happen, where both of them go upwards, but there's only one. Actually, this is not bad. This is like the second best. Okay, I'll take it. Now we need to kill this one real fast before it gets up. Alright, so that's 2 down immediately, and this goes to the 3rd one immediately. Nice. I like this pattern. That's good. That's actually really good RNG, which is very, very rare for that to happen. Take this wide turn. Break this one to get your ignition gauge back up. Or as I just want to call it, hyper mode. Okay, so for this boss fight, it's just kill random mobs. It's just a giant mob room. It's kind of boring, to be honest. Run forward, use Aizen, kill the giant 2, pop this. And then just do this for the rest of the level, pretty much. Using Aizen sparingly. So in hyper mode, Aizen, my little Aizen will just constantly regenerate extremely fast, so I can kind of spam it too. Plus increased damage from most of my attacks. So it also kind of gives me iframes. I still take damage, but I just don't get like stun locked or anything, which is also quite important. Another bad part about Uryu, and especially this particular area, is when you kill someone, they don't just disappear, so they can actually tank the shots even though they're dead, and it just kind of gets in the way. Should be a few spawnings still. Nice. That was okay. It was an okay Uryu. This room kind of just randomizes itself. You can't really do much about it. It could be a double spawn at the end, it could be a single spawn. Some enemies can just face tank even though they're dead. It's just a mess of a level. Going back into another loading screen. Like, I feel like if you time the loading screens, it might be like 50% of the run, which I wish they would port this game to PS4 so this game could be cut in half in time-wise. Now, for this one, we're going to go right back to Ichigo. Yeah, you can't turn off autosave. That's another thing that's kind of annoying about this game. It's just not an option to do. So like I said, okay, where was I? Okay, so for this stage, I'm gonna be abusing my ignition gauge to kill a room instantly, and then run back straight to the boss room. This is the Grimjaw episode, or Grimjaw fight. Which in the first room, I'm just gonna be jumping and using small Getsuga Tenshos to wipe out the room. Ooh. Okay, so I ran out of... Because of that knockout, it actually messed me up a little bit there. That's not a big deal, though. Normally, if you don't get knocked out of the air and your camera angle doesn't change like that, you can kind of wipe them out real quick before you run out of spiritual pressure. But I got a very unlucky one there. Grab that ignition boost, which we're going to be abusing in the next room immediately. So there's 2 ignition boosts on this level, which is why we can get away with this. Get this. Instantly kill him, immediately flash off the side, camera switch, and then immediately ultimate. This will wipe out literally the 2 mobs in this room. So each room has objectives. So for most of the rooms that we're going to deal with, you only have to kill certain enemies. So for that one, you have to kill the taller one, taller hollows. In some rooms, you have to do a complete wipe, which will be 3 rooms in total, but the rest of them are just kill certain hollows, which you'll see me focusing them down the whole time. So next up is Grimjaw, which is a pretty simple fight. It's just a simple go right into hyper mode, lock on, move forward, base combo slash up, aerial combo into Getsu Gatenchos. Dash forward, repeat pattern. We'll kind of repeat this until second phase, and then immediately just pretty much dash forward, then usually get a final Getsu Gatencho. Or a big one. And then the ultimate, and chapter's done. So these total soul points can, like I said, be used into leveling your character, but because this is 90%, there's no point. There's actually a problem with one of the leaderboards with New Game Plus, is that I hate to say it, it's done so poor. The route was done so poorly that 80% has crushed it, which should not be a case because it's a higher level character. Just crushed, so being able to do more damage is still being a slower time than the inner percent route. There's no reason for it. It's just a little irritation by me. Next up is a lot of people's favorite character, Kenpachi. Kenpachi plays really weird in this game. Not, like, bad, but off. He's kind of, like, straightforward, but his abilities just are kind of odd. I'll kind of explain it as I'm going through. They just consume a lot of spiritual pressure spiritual gauge for no reason. This is also one of the levels where we come across. Actually, this is the first level where you come across random dialogue trees that can waste you time. This way, stand right here and blah. Well. So right now we're going to want to completely get rid of our spiritual gauge, so that way it can recover as we're dashing. Okay, so next up we're going to just kind of break these walls. We got a full spiritual gauge for the boss room. So, these walls are weird. They don't count as enemy hits, so I can't do the jump combo on them. But if I hit an enemy from behind me, I can. And it's actually faster to do the jump combo than it is on the ground, but it is just unlucky if you get it or not. Grab this for the ignition boost, and back to the next room. Webb's calling him Bleach-kun. Lol. Alright, this fight's pretty simple. Go right into ignition, then immediately run forward, and then just do your jump combo. Ooh, that's rare. Okay, so that's kind of his burst combo. That's actually bad, but that just happened. Because this is wasting our ignition. Alright, let's try to recover this if we can. The second phase. Because that happened, I need to pretty much do this first a little bit for safety. Should be good now, I think. So I know for a fact we're gonna get the long dialogue tree because of that. So the level won't end until they finish talking. There's nothing I can really do about it. It's just the random dialogue tree. They actually got one of the like lighter ones, so it's actually good. All of this dialogue actually does come from the show, so at least that's a plus. You can also play this game in English and Japanese. So if you like either of the cast, you can choose which one you want. Random dialogue trees are the most painful thing to deal with when you're trying to run this game. Ah, yes, Rukia. Okay. Rukia's level is interesting. I'll try to explain as I'm going on, but mostly the premise is you're gonna see me spam Hado 33 multiple times. And then maybe every now and then some other abilities. But it's a weird... I'm gonna do things in a certain pattern. If I can get it. Like I said, an inmate can knock me out of it, and then I have to come up with the backup stuff. But if I can get this all in one go, it'd be really good. This is probably one of the more RNG parts that I do have control over a little bit, but not really. This game is very RNG based. It's a fun and easy game to pick up, but it's just, at a certain point, the RNG just tears you up inside. Okay, so we're going to need to immediately lock onto this guy, run to the angle, unlock off, and then immediately start spamming Hado. Ooh, we were knocked out. That's not good. Quickly. Yeah, these little small guys are actually more of a problem because they can knock you out of this. And then camera angle is another issue. Block. Oh my god, 3 in a row. That's very unfortunate. That's, like I said, that's the main issue with a lot of Rukias, is it's based on where you're standing versus where the enemy is, and these little guys can knock you out of position repeatedly. It's unfortunate, but you just have to deal with it if it happens. Like, the 3-time hits is super rare, and that was just unfortunate, but... It's not like a run-ender, but it's just annoying. We actually had a good angle and everything, and we just got knocked out. It's unfortunate. That's really sad, in my opinion. But yeah, we got dash. It's pretty much most of these levels you're just gonna dash. Go to the side here. And here's like the giant mob room. Lock on, then spark. Right into hyper mode, which then becomes 3. So if you do this room right, normally you'll just get a 300 hit combo, or slash combo is whatever they want to call it in this game. I need to pay attention to where those orbs are, because I do not need to pick up that red one until after the fight. And the blue one I can grab as a backup when I run out. Use this to empty my spiritual gauge. We're gonna grab this. That was intentional, so that way I can have a refresh before the boss fight. So this boss fight has 2 phases. You can actually skip both of them, technically. It's kind of random, but you can definitely skip one of them. I'm trying to stay at a certain height here, so that way I don't get knocked back. I run to the side, grab the boost. That orb is guaranteed every time. You just gotta hope it doesn't spawn on you. So do this. And we might get all phase skips. Yep, we skipped all phases. Usually you'll get one, which is like just a small 1 to 2 second animation, I guess, cutscene, and then right back into the attack. That time we just didn't get it, which is good. Our damage didn't, like, stop for a second. Because some of these attacks just stop for a second, and I don't get. No, this is another this level has another example of you can't move on until certain dialogue goes away, because there's gonna get a point where I'm just gonna be standing there waiting for the dialogue to move on so I can go on to the next part. Alright, so this way, go up here, turn, go back up the stairs. Just gonna load the broom, block this out. This way, and then immediately start slashing. So we need to make sure we get ignite boost, or beat all of our ignition gauge. That way we can use it in the next room. Random grab, whatever. It's pretty common. Okay, now we got our boost, now we get to use this. That was an okay second room. That little guy kept running at the end, but other than that, it was pretty good. Okay, so go to this one. Immediately go into ignition. Lock on. Kill all three of these guys real quickly. You could also kill these guys with just using regular small Getsugas, but it's a little slower by a few seconds. It's just faster to do that because you're gonna get another drop or red orb over here anyway, so it's not like it's a real issue of using it or not. So right now I have to wait till the dialogue is done before I can move on to the next room. だが貴様は違う。貴様を殺すことはラスノーチェスを守ることと同義だ。貴様は消す。俺の剣でな。Now we can move on to the next room, which is a boss fight, and we're gonna do the same thing we've been doing for Ichigo at this point. Resurrección segunda etapa. SRROCの中で俺だけがこの2段階目の解放を可能にした。この姿を目にしてまだ戦う意志が。He's gonna go into his starter mode, knock him up. ならば貴様のその5体、塵にしてでも分からせてやろう。 as it hits the ground, we're gonna ultimate. Wasn't that bad. He guarded less than he normally does, so that's a good thing. Sometimes he'll sit and guard for a bit, and it's just annoying. Okay, so this is Holified Ichigo. I do not like playing this character either, because he's slow, and this fight is extremely annoying. There are a lot of things that can go wrong in this fight. For example, him sitting in guard the whole time through my Ignation. His counter, his grab. There's a lot of things that just the AI has that can just make this painful for no reason. And if my damage doesn't kill him with the ultimate, he kind of makes it painful, because he'll retaliate with his, which is another time loss. Use this, then go into Ignation. I'm trying to get him, so like what you want to do here now, after you grab the Ignation Orb at the start of the fight, is you kind of want to get him into a wall. It's the fastest method, but if he doesn't, like he's doing right now, there's a backup strat, which I don't like using as often since it has a chance of missing. Okay. Yeah, no choice. He's not gonna cooperate. Oh my god, this is bad. Okay, fuck it. We're good now. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to cuss. This fight's really annoying. He wouldn't cooperate in any way or form. So what's supposed to happen is you knock him, you pretty much keep comboing him until you get him to the wall. When then you do a full up combo, get into the air, then use your circle to do the grab stabs. And once you do the grab stabs, it does a good chunk of his health, and then you can kill him. But he wasn't cooperating. So the backup method is you do the same thing, except instead of going up in the air, you just do your circle button to do full power, which then wastes all your spiritual gauge, and then do maybe one more combo, then hit him with the ultimate. But there's like a lot of problems with that fight, especially the fact that there's a random dialogue. We didn't get it. So in that fight, let's say Orihime does her dialogue, that's an extra 5 seconds you have to wait. It's painful. So next up is Hitsugaya stage. It's pretty normal. It's kind of odd because he has 2 rooms where you have to clear the room, and his kit's not really designed to deal with that very well. It's like meh, but other than that, it's pretty normal. The boss fight has a different kind of way of dealing with the enemy than what you see. We're not going to do the whole jump combo thing. It actually is a completely different combo. And I know, like, this is like one of the Hitsugaya is one of the more popular characters in the series. Okay, that was a really clean room 1. So we have someone going on. We have one of these guys going underground. Which, where are you? So you always want to go for these guys with the typical hands first, because they can kill you if you just leave them alone. Second room should be done now. Alright, so we got third room and then the boss room. Third room is just simple, use your ultimate, move on. Gotta jump so that way we can get on these platforms instead of having to just jump later. Camera angle, please. Yeah, that's another thing is sometimes the joysticks likes to rebound and make your character stand in a completely weird angle. I don't get it. So we're gonna break this one, and go grab that, which then gives back our activation boost. So this is Halabel. It's one of my favorite characters in this game to play as. She's actually like the second best non-unlockable character in the game. So I'll start by locking her down, go into hyper mode, and then use combo. And spam this until she bounces, then go back into another one. Combo. Dash forward. Back in this. We're gonna kind of like loop her if we can. We kind of ran out of spiritual gauge, which means we can't do the safe strat, but that's fine. Do the lockdown, then immediately go into pressure. So this is the safe strat, is you use this right as you do your ultimate, because they'll both go off at the same time, and it should kill her no matter what. Usually the ultimate can kill her if your damage is on point, but with that way you just get double the amount of damage for no reason. Because you're still in hyper mode when that goes off. Next up, I think, is Soy Phone, which what used to be the worst level in the game, because it had an the boss in that actually was the worst until we found a way to chain lock him. But before we get into the boss, I'm gonna explain Soy Phone's kit, because it's actually one of the better ones in the game. She has an ability where if she attacks an enemy twice with the same ability, it instant kills them, except for bosses, which can kill at 25%? 20%. Which we won't use because we have a better method of doing that. But we'll be spamming that ability through each room. Except for one part where we're going to use our ultimate to clear a certain path. This is actually the most consistent split in the entire game now, because of how we changed to chain lock the boss. Like this, get a boost, forward, lock on to this enemy. So these flying enemies are the only ones you need to kill in this first room. First room done. Wait, we must get recovery while we're flying through the air. Back to the next room. Another thing about End Nation that I forgot to mention is when you use it, you get your spiritual gauge back, which is why this is a very important one for this particular split. Use this. this, be out of nation gauge, kill both of those, pop into hyper mode, go forward, lock on to this guy, wait a second for the other two to spawn, and fire. This will kill all 4 of these, which then 2 more will spawn behind me, and I can use my attack to pretty much kill them soon after they spawn. No, I can't lock on, because if I do, it's going to lock onto the turtle, and I don't want to lock onto the turtle, because it makes the angling retardedly hard to deal with. So now we're going to break this, grab the Ignition Boost, and then go into the next boss room. So 2 things will happen. Either he'll just let me walk up and start the chain lock, or he'll activate Age. If he activates Age, I have to wait till it goes down. So this boss is extremely difficult because of an ability he has called Age. It does damage over time, and not like just small damage, ridiculous amount. Like, it can kill you in about 3 to 4 seconds if you stay in it. On top of the fact that it slows you down comboing wise. If I do this correctly, I won't have to deal with it at all. So now I'm gonna just spam this attack because it locks him in place for a short period of time. Go into hyper mode. And then start doing it again until a certain point, which then I'm going to start spamming kunai. Okay, so the second wave missed, which means he's probably going to cast his hyper mode and then cast Age. He has Age on right now, which I gotta kill him, try to get past this real quick. Okay, cool. So that you saw how fast that was. It was like, what, 2 seconds and I was already at half health? So I just gotta hope this doesn't miss and we're good. It should be fine though. Yeah, we're good. And that's that fight. It's pretty consistent now with the chain lock, but it used to be the most painful and the most difficult split in the entire run. Yeah, so the second wave of kunai didn't hit because I didn't time it. Well, I didn't time it perfectly. But other than that, it wasn't that bad. Next up is this guy. I can't remember his name at the moment. But pretty much this room is just kill all the enemies, then fight the final boss. There's not really anything out of the ordinary. The only problem with this one is that for the boss, you'll already be in hyper mode before you enter the room. So you need to keep up with your hyper mode and your spiritual gauge, because you'll run out using tornadoes. This is probably one of the more easier and one of the more annoying ones. Well, one of the more easy. I take it back. One of the most easy parts of this run, and also one of the ones where it could just easily go wrong too. So just gonna start by hitting these guys. So I need to kill as many of these flying guys as I can. The more I can kill, the faster this will be for me later on. That's why another good part about it though is this makes this kind of easy because the tornado I kind of pull people in. Okay, not bad. That was an average room. Okay, so now we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go straight into hyper mode as soon as this is over, and now. And we're gonna fly to these guys, because you only have to kill these 3 to move on. So we're gonna kill him. Kill him. Be careful of the orb that drops when he dies, because we're gonna come back and get that. Kill this one. Now that he's dead, we're gonna fly right back to grab this orb. Go right back over here to grab the next one. To refill my boost gauge, then fly right to the boss room. So this is Stark. Stark is actually the second best character, well, the second best character to play in the entire game. First being Skull Ichigo from the 4th movie. And the reason for that he's actually the best character in the game is that he's ranged. So in mission mode speedruns, you would probably spend a lot of time just playing Stark the entire time. This is another one that has an example of you can't finish the level until they stop talking. We do Kagayoni for safety. It'll put us right into the next phase. Then run up and then ultimate. Nice. He's gonna do his attack, so that's good. And he's dead. That's actually a visual glitch right there. His it's not supposed to look like that, his scarf. Law. That's actually a new thing I've never seen, is a visual glitch like that. So that's funny. Next is Byakuya. This is another simple stage. Pretty much abuse the fact we're using Ignition again and kill waves, and then for the final boss, stagger him, and then just keep doing a certain combo, and then finish him with ultimate. Funny story, I actually PB'd the world record this Friday right before the marathon started. So it's kind of interesting to me. An interesting little thing. Okay, so we're gonna fight another giant hollows. This one you have to be kind of careful with, because if you're too slow to get away from him, you'll get a cutscene of him blowing up, and you don't want to waste the time on that. These guys explode for some reason. They thought that was a good idea. Clear the cage. So now we're gonna have our energy recovering for the before the next round. So run to this one. If he grabs me, that's unfortunate. But it's whatever. Then pop in Asian. Refresh our gauge before the next room. We're gonna try to run as... If we can make it there in time, we can actually keep this Nation gauge going. If not, then we'll just have to use it again once we grab it. So grab this, get the Nation gauge boost again, run through this room. Next is the boss fight. This boss fight looks intimidating, but it's actually just extremely easy to do. It's kind of a joke, to be honest, because all you do is lock on 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, he'll stagger, run forward, do a regular combo, 1, 2, 3, regular combo, 1, 2, 3, stagger again, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then go right into this, and then immediately ultimate, and this will be the end of the fight. That fight was a little slow, I can tell by the dialogue tree. What is your duty? Next up is one of my favorite levels to play as is Yoruichi. Yoruichi is actually one of my favorite characters, same with Soifone. She has a really just good kit overall. It actually makes this level just a lot of fun to play. Pretty much this level is kill the enemies, kill the right enemies, go to the next area, kill the right enemies, fight the boss. This whole chapter is just pretty much movement based, because the killing is really easy with the kunai throw. And her ultimate is really good too. So what we're gonna do is pretty much get on this guy, use kunai, grab on this guy, use kunai. 2 more are gonna spawn. Kunai. Next room. Kunai. Enemy got in the way, so it's a regular combo. Forward. Kunai. Next room. Kunai. And then run through the wall. That's the end of that room. It's worth throwing daggers, but I just like calling them kunai. So like we're on our way to this battle where Ichigo and Aizen are doing right now. And that's kind of what the dialogue in the background is. Get the next room up. Lock on, forward, once, drag a base combo, and then go right into this. Base combo, and then apply the opposite way we need to. Go this way. Base combo, throwing daggers, throwing daggers. But for this one, we're going to hit circle. Go to the side, circle. Oh, I missed it. Okay. You can sometimes break that if your angle's right, but it's not a big deal. You can just break it now. Grab rotation, and then move forward. So this is the Aizen, first Aizen fight. We're gonna lock onto him, go into hyper mode. He's gonna run away, seriously. Gonna do this. So every time you see that like windshield, it's just him blocking. What we want him to do is actually, in this fight, we want him to go into hyper mode like this, so then we can just do this the whole time. to hit. Doesn't really matter to me. And I hit him with the circle. And then as soon as he gets up, Shunko. That's the end of that fight. That fight can actually go a lot faster, depending if he goes into hyper mode sooner. If he goes into hyper mode and then jumps up and does his orb attack, you can like wail on him extremely fast. Sadly, he did Black Coffin, which I can't do much about. Either I can technically hit circle and waste my entire gauge to counter it, but it's actually slower to do that because you don't have any more spiritual gauge. So you can't spam daggers. Next up is one of the more annoying fights. It's Geen. The whole gimmick on this fight is he kind of runs away, and there's no ignition boost at the start, so you just have to build it up. There is a possibility I could die here. If I do, I'll just have to redo it again. It just depends on what pattern I get. If he just gets a pattern where he just retaliates too much, there's nothing I can do about it. Alright. He's gonna run. Alright, so I might have a retaliating pattern. We want to just kind of loop him here if we can, so he doesn't run away, and we can build our gauge up at the same time. There is health on the ground, but it's kind of a waste. And on top of this, he's going to get into hyper mode twice before we ever do. And the problem with hyper mode of the enemies is that they have normal attacks don't hurt them, only type like heavy solid base attacks. So you'll actually see a bunch of my attacks just not really stun locking him until like the last hit. And we're going to want that to kind of be the case throughout these hyper modes, just me hitting him to stun lock the whole time. And he also loves to guard. Nice, so we have hype got into our gauge. We're gonna pop it now. Try to go for one more combo if we can. Alright, now we should be in range to kill. Now wait, that's in, and then use our special. And that's the Geen fight. That was a pretty okay one. So next up is the last level in the game. There's actually quite a bit to talk about on this one. I won't have a special to begin with to finish him. I'll be able to use Ignition for the bonus damage, but I won't be able to use my special because it kills you in this game because we'll be playing as Final Ichigo. Another factor is the final boss can't be hit by normal attacks unless he's in the middle of a animation. And what I mean by that is if I swing my sword at him, he'll just dodge. There'll be a cutscene of him just constantly dodging for each swing I try to take out. So you'll see me spamming spiritual-based attacks, spiritual-based slashes throughout most of it, unless he does a special one of his attacks, which then I'm going to use another ultimate to, well, a semi-ultimate to kind of wither his health down. This fight is kind of just keep up with your spiritual gauge, and then remember where the two spiritual orbs on the fight are. Other than that, the rest of this whole level is just easy. So at the start, we're going to hit that, immediately go jump once, and fly forward. The reason we jump is because these guys can ground pound, and if you're on the ground, you get pretty much knocked out of your dash, and you don't want that. So we're gonna look here, him, target correctly. That attack takes my entire spiritual gauge. It does a crazy amount of damage, though. which we'll be using on Aizen if he gives us the opportunity. That was unfortunate, he knocked us out of the sky. So in this room, we just kill the enemies as the bosses, well, the big guys as soon as they spawn. So the first one will spawn here. So Final Ichigo doesn't increase the amount of damage even though he's level 1. Because they just want to make your character feel like he's like extremely overpowered for story reasons. We're gonna run this way. First one should spawn here, right? Second one will spawn over here. Last one will spawn over here. Doing this to refresh our meter before the final boss. We're gonna grab the Nation boost here, and then go into the final boss. So like I said, normal swings won't work. We have to use spiritual gauge, and the timer ends on the final hit of Aizen. I'll try to call it out when it goes on. So we're gonna kind of do this a little bit. He's gonna teleport. So this fight's kind of RNG based. If he teleports or not, he's gonna give us this, which means we can go into this attack and do a good chunk of damage. We're gonna fly over here, grab this spiritual orb, and go right back to attacking him if we can. We're gonna slow down on these so we don't run out right away. So like the bad luck is if he just keeps teleporting like this for a bit. I don't have any control if he does it or not. I just kind of want him to do a certain attack where I can use my ability now. So this is a bad RNG right now. Come on, do something else. This is just bad RNG. Can't really do anything about this. That's what I want. It should put him in second phase. No, it doesn't. Oh, that's not good. That means I'm gonna have one less orb after second phase. Okay. So now we can that he's staggered. That's unfortunate. We got the bad pattern there. So this is his like DM where I can't do anything, it's just gotta wait till it ends. Go into hyper mode now for the refresh. And he's just trolling me right now. Alright. He's doing his grab. I can't do anything without spiritual energy here. Yeah, this is probably one of the worst Aizens I've had in a while. He's teleporting way too much. Come on. There we go, we can end the fight now. The time ends now. And then you get this cool cutscene at the end. 58, 55. That's not too bad. With the bad pattern Aizen, it makes sense. The world record in this game is like a 57:20, so it's not too bad. Well, I thank everyone for letting me participate in this marathon, especially showing off this game, because this game is not known. It's kind of a cool game, and I do hope some people someday pick it up to run it. It does have a hard entry because of the PS3 only type deal, but hey. There've been some good runs in this marathon so far, and I know up next is my good pal Gooby doing Shaq Fu. Oh, God. That'll be interesting for y'all to watch. You have like your own little Gooby marathon. I think he's doing 3 runs after back-to-back, maybe? I'm sure. I think he is. But I appreciate you guys letting me in, and that was Bleach Soul Resurrection. Thank you very much.